So good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday. Wow, Tuesday. And so it is Tuesday. Why is Tuesday so significant today? Because we know there is a major catastrophe going on in the Gulf and in the Atlantic. And California was an indicator to me of what could potentially come up. What type of catastrophe could happen in another part of the world that would influence the West and America. And so I knew when California was going to get hit by some type of tropical storm, which has been so unprecedented, that now finally the agenda has kicked off. And it was just a matter of time before the Gulf and the Atlantic would be hit by something, given that we're just now embarking on hurricane season, though it did start in June, but it needed a few months to heat up. And we had a lot of months and days of extreme heat. And so yesterday I was warning people. I was saying, dude, get out. It's Monday, get out. You have time to get out, fly out. I was even looking up how much it would cost to fly out of Tampa. And when I did Google that, and I said, okay, coming out of Tampa to go to Ohio. Let's say I was going to go to Ohio from Tampa. It would either be maybe $200 one way, and that was one flight. Out of every other flight was around $1,000 for a one-way ticket, or maybe a round-trip ticket. It may have been $1,000 for a round-trip ticket. But one flight from Tampa that I Googled through Expedia, how much it would cost, it was about $1,000. And so, yeah, if you have money, you had been able to fly out yesterday. But people probably wouldn't fly out if they have animals, if they have other things going on. So imagine $1,000 a ticket and you have 5 people in your family, and maybe people don't carry that kind of cash in their bank account. So it would be the rich that would have gone out a long time ago. And I was just like, man. So I was warning, and then something came up through my weather app, and it was a video that was talking about the contamination of the gas with the diesel gas and the regular gas. And I'm thinking contamination like gas tanks are leaking, or the storm surge is going to cause contamination because it's going to overfill the gas tanks in the gas stations because of floods. No. When I actually read the article, I listened to the video. They were saying some gas company accidentally, from all the way north to like Brooksville or whatever, Florida, all the way down to Fort Myers, they put diesel gas by mistake in the gas tanks of the gas stations. And so anyone that filled up their gas after 10 a.m. on Saturday, because they were all encouraged on Saturday to go fill up their gas tanks, at least half a tank, potentially their gas could have diesel. When does that fucking happen? When have you ever heard of a region having one gas truck or a fleet of gas trucks put in the wrong fucking gas in the gas stations? That my alarm bells are ringing. My alarm bells are going off. I'm like, what the fuck? But what are you going to do? People already done it. What's done is done, right? I mean, and so they can't do anything. I mean, they can go try and see if maybe they hope their gas station wasn't hit. So then the gambling. See, that's why you don't want to wait to the 11th hour to start making decisions. When you're told to go fill up your gas tank, and you're told, well, just sit tight until we tell you to evacuate. I would have been gone a long fucking time ago. I was gone a long time ago for different reasons. But I would have been gone. I would have told my husband, we're not fucking sitting through a goddamn hurricane. No freaking way. I don't even think, I'm glad I'm not in the position to make those kind of freaking choices or observations, but holy shit. So yesterday I was an alarmist. I was a major alarmist. I was even, some would say, fear-mongering. Abso-fucking-lutely I was. People had a chance to leave yesterday. Even if it was just you and your boyfriend or you and your husband and you had no kids, you could have left yesterday. You might have spent a pretty penny, yes, and then try to find a hotel up here. But hotels up here, I mean, there's no more Hall of Fame weekend here, so hotels would have been rather inexpensive. And so that's why yesterday I was just like pulling out all the stops. Oh, the system was pulling out all the stops to keep people hunkering down and staying put. And then you're hearing these two major hurricanes, one coming from the south, one coming from the east going west, like a perfect fucking storm. Remember that movie, The Perfect Storm? And that wasn't even half as large as these hurricanes are projected to be. It is going to be damage in the billions of dollars, not even in the 200 million like back then in 1991 when the Andrea Gale got lost at sea because of the perfect storm. And so the whole J-world is about fear-mongering. The whole fucking J-world is about waking up your immune system so you can face fear for what it is. You could face your immune system, the pain for what it is, and hope that you make better choices when you face that pain. But I just now discovered and put it together why it is we are who we are as far as the J-world. Because when you do face the pain, and when you do wake up your immune system, then you will get in action. You won't be afraid you're going to die someday. You're not going to be afraid of the pain, thinking that pain is going to cause you death at some point. It's going to make you find ways to strategize your fucking survival. And so yeah, I was looking at somebody's page. And this lady, she's a Christian, a very, very devout Christian. And she said something on there, because after I was posting those pictures of Hurricane Idalia to the south and Hurricane Franklin to the east going west, and I know how influential that energy is, though the Weather Channel kept playing down the severity of Hurricane Franklin converging almost simultaneously with Idalia, even though it may not, they didn't say winds were going to be a factor or an influence. They're saying, oh yeah, you might have a lot of rip tides. It's not going to really do too much to the rain over there. There's going to be a bunch of rain anyways. But it's the energy. It's the energy of having something that close to shore, along with something that's coming up the fucking coast, is what's going to work together in conjunction and make the storm stronger. I was noticing that. I even wrote that. You saw what I wrote about it. And I'm just freaking out. And so this lady was saying, stop fear-mongering everybody. And I know she wasn't just talking to me. I'm just one of many people setting out the alarm bells. But I chose to respond in a very respectful way. And I'm just like, dude, remember? Do we not remember what happened in California? Do we have a short memory? Yeah, people do. And so we went back and forth a little bit, and I was very polite. And I even said, hey, I'm not a Christian. Because she then eventually said, hey, this is to all the Christians. And I'm like, I'm not a Christian. And maybe I shouldn't have spoken up. But, I'm not doing this to make money. I am not doing this to just, get accolades or anything. I have pure, genuine concern for those who are faced with a choice. Those who have $2,000 they're going to spend, or they have $5,000 and they're saving it for their vacation, right? And so whether you have $5,000 spent on a vacation that may come up next month, or you take the $2,000, $3,000 and put it towards a plane flight out of harm's way and save yourself and sacrifice your vacation money. That's what I'm doing, is saying, hey, you have a choice, save your life or maybe go on a vacation if you survive that situation. And that's all. And I was very polite, very, very polite. And she was really gracious, very kind-hearted lady. And I just ended it there, but it was just like, holy shit. And she's like, stop fear-mongering. It's not Christian. It's not this. It's not that. And I'm trying to come from the point, and I'm trying to understand her point of view too, is that she's coming from calm head, calm heart, calmness. But sometimes when you're walking down the street and there's like gunshots going by you and there's gang members all around you, yeah, you could try to walk calmly and maybe you hope you didn't get hit by the crossfire. But sometimes you need to be in like fight and flight. Sometimes you need to do that. Sometimes it's required people have the alarm bells raised, okay? And so fear-mongering in of itself is not a bad thing. What is your intention to fear-monger? To what extent do you intend to capitalize on the fear? When inducing fear serves you more than everybody else, well, that's what you have to look at. When you're sending out alarm bells, who's it serving, you or somebody else? Well, it just depends. It's okay to be selfish. It's not okay to cross boundaries. And if you're going to cross boundaries, do it so politely. But even then, be genuine. Don't be like hiding behind politeness and love. Because I've had that where people would troll me through love and kindness. And you can tell. Okay? Why do people have an issue with fear-mongering? Well, and this is where I understand the whole J world. Because when we finally wake up our immune system is yelling and screaming, telling us there's danger in the body. You have to release it. When I wake up this morning, I release my demons because my body's letting me know when I'm blowing my nose and I'm coughing out loogies that have different colors in it. Yeah, it's infection, but I don't feel infected. I don't even feel sick. But my body has figured out how to cordon off infection without putting me in dis-ease. And so I hawk up loogies and I poop. And yesterday I woke up from a nap and I woke up with an urticaria, a little tiny one right over here. And that was it. I didn't have any excess acid. I didn't feel any dis-ease. Somebody else woke up with a child at 4 a.m. this morning. Her child's sick. Yeah, things happen. Early in the morning, people get sick, people die, people wake up and release their demons. And so you have a choice to wake up and die. You have a choice to wake up hella fucking sick. Or you have a choice to wake up and release those demons. Okay? And so we face our fear. We face our immune system. We don't go under the influence of anything because you will not recognize danger for what it is. And that's the whole premise of the fucking J world, is to listen to indicators, not be under the influence so you don't recognize danger for what it is. And that's what's going on right now. And so why do people have issues with fear-mongering? Because it produces dis-ease. Yeah. You know something is not right in the universe. You know something is not right in the force. Whether it's revelations, apocalyptic scenarios, or the government, whatever you want to blame it on. We face those fears in the J world. And yes, it does produce dis-ease, and you can release those demons and make smart choices. Producing disease is not necessarily bad. It means that you finally are facing what is going on in this world. And you could have, it may not be any danger out there, so to speak, if you're in a more of an insulated area, but you have danger inside. What do you mean? You have trauma inside, or you wouldn't feel the fear of whatever it is. Okay? Something wouldn't have triggered you to feel a certain way if you were in more of an insulated area. You're not like in Florida or anywhere else. And so if you feel disease and you're not in danger per se, then it means that you have the trauma inside and you need to release that trauma. And so why do people have an issue with fear-mongering? Because it produces disease. Realities and truth they are not ready to face. There's nothing they can do about it, and the fear is about the fear that is being mongered. So that's very true. There's people in Florida who did not get out of harm's way. And they're in Tampa. They didn't take a flight out. So they're going to hunker down and they're going to play down the severity. They're going to say it's fear-mongering. They're going to say, oh, it's just the media lying to you. They're just making everybody all crazy so you can do, And I'm like, knowing what happened in Katrina, knowing what happened in Fort Myers, knowing what happened to all the different keys out there, I'm not willing to fucking risk that type of thing. But people are sitting right now in harm's way. And so there's nothing they can do about it. And that's why they don't like the fear mongering, because it's going to remind them that they did not listen or that they thought they knew better. And yeah, when you think about some of the storms where people thought it would be severe and it wasn't, that just lulled you into a state of cognitive dissonance. You didn't want to face that. Maybe even though 6 times they were wrong as far as the severity, the 7th time could be the deadly one. Like I said to somebody, I would rather be wrong 6 times and react the way I have to react than be wrong the 7th time when it's deadly the 7th time. When I pack up my bag when there's tornado warnings, I don't assume because it wasn't crazy the last time it didn't hit us, it's not going to hit us again the next time. I will never assume that it's going to be not dangerous the next time. I will assume every single time there's a major freaking storm coming my way that it's going to be catastrophic and devastating, and I'll have something that I've done to hold on to some important papers or my phone or some keys or something, or some water or a change of fucking underwear or whatever. But there really is nowhere to go in my town. There's no hills, and if you go to the hills, there's landslides. So the only way to go is up, and my roof is really pointy, so I'll be going on my neighbor's roof if we ever get flooded like that. But it's really the tornadoes that I have an issue with. So I'll sit in my basement. I'll sleep in the basement. All right. And I said, well, purely selfish reasons. That's why people have an issue with fear-mongering, which, okay, that's fine. If you don't want to be triggered by fear, don't follow people who induce fear. Or, in other words, take all your feel anything. You don't have to face anything. You live in your fantasy world. That's what drugs and alcohol and prescription drugs and distractions do, is where you don't have to face your fear of anything, and your body or your mind or your spirit. Yeah, there was a glitch right there. And so, if you don't want to be triggered by fear, don't follow people who induce fear. Or again, be under the influence so you never have to face your fear. But people are strangely attracted to fear. That's why it's called fear porn. Now you must know how far to take it. How far you take in believing it. How far you take inducing it. And you must dissect the arguments if you have that capacity. If you don't have the capacity to dissect the arguments, you'll become a paranoid basket case, or you will walk right into danger and not see it for what it is, which is most of the population right now. We know the conspiracy world has been accused of inducing fear for decades. Oh, hell yeah, we have. Hell, I knew it way back when I first discovered Alex Jones back in 2011. But we had 10 years to go before we actually saw the fruits of our labor. And so then people were making fun of us. Oh, you predicted something was going to happen, and it never fucking happened. Oh, you fell into the gullibility of believing all those crazy people out there, Jillian. Okay, I said, okay. Believe me, the system wouldn't induce that kind of fear if it wasn't for a reason. We just know when it was going to be. We didn't know when it was going to happen. We just knew it was going to happen at some point. But when, we didn't fucking know. But when you get colds and flus, and people are just like, oh, I'll just take a drug for it, no big deal. Those are indicators something's going on. When you get a cold or a flu, those are indicators something's trapped in the body. Something is going to happen in the future. And people ignore those indicators, or they disable their body's immune system to allow those indicators to work the way it's supposed to, and you release those demons. And so we were like a cold and a flu back in 2011, 2012, or even before that. Okay? But then again, now you're looking at how people solve and what their solution is for all of that dis-ease, of which then is like the Tower of Babel. And so why do people induce fear? We know the conspiracy world has been accused of inducing fear for decades. Regardless of who you blame or what you blame, for whatever issues are going on, The conspiracy world has been right time and time again. They legitimately have an argument that is so credible. And while some people will not benefit from facing their fears and facing other fears, other people make a choice once they see the outcome of other people's choices. And so now you're going to watch people who are stuck in Tampa, who decided not to get out, who decided to stay there because they thought that situation was going to last forever. They're going to have to face the choices they made. And we're going to watch them face the choices that they've made. When they were told they should probably get out at some point or well, I don't even know if they were told to evacuate. They'd be told at the last second. When they didn't listen to the indicators when Fort Myers was destroyed, they forgot about Katrina. Short memories because they're under the fucking influence. So they're going to be a sitting duck. They're going to be a fucking sitting duck. Hopefully they survive not being drowned by the storm surge. And so, and while some people will not benefit from facing their fears because it's too late for them, and facing other people's fears because it's too late for them, other people will make a choice once they see the outcome of other people's choices, which is why we have Facebook, YouTube, and we have all these storm chasers that are going to record the devastation so you can see what you could potentially face if you don't listen to indicators. You will actually see the death and destruction of people who did not listen to indicators, which is why you keep people who fearmonger and induce fear on your Facebook around. You keep them close. Don't chase them away. They're not on your Facebook crossing boundaries. They are just speaking from their point of view. They're like your immune system, telling you something is not right. They're the people that will clue you in on something unkosher in the world. They are your immune system. So the whole J world and the conspiracy world is your immune system. They are the indicators. In my world, I never shut off indicators. I face my own fear and other people's fears all the time. And I weigh out the pros and cons. And I make choices for myself. When people have shut off most of their immune system with herbs, drugs, and alcohol, they imply to run from fear, not face their fears, and walk right into the lion's den or discount how dangerous situations could potentially be. People who are run by fantasy don't know danger for what it is until it hits them in the solar plexus. And then I made that connection about the immune system and the J world. When people don't face their fears and face the pain of their immune system, they are like the walking dead when they don't listen to indicators. When they ignore warnings that have plenty of indicators to work from. They have been under the influence for such a long time. They wake up when the devil's right at their door. The J world, my world, I face your fears. I face your pain because your fear and your pain is my pain and my fear. We are that connected. So the whole J world is connecting the world to each other and facing what we've done to each other, what we're doing to ourselves, what we have done in the past. When I watched a video on the Weather Channel of an elderly couple that was using tape, using tape and plastic to seal their house from the storm surge. She wasn't even concerned about the wind. She was more concerned about the water. So this is an elderly couple taking tape and plastic and sealing up the cracks in their garage. That's how far removed people are from reality of what's been going on. That's how far removed they are from that reality. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And the reporter, who is not going to say anything, was just showing us where people's minds are at. Using tape to seal up your garage? Are you kidding me? So when you're seeing this, when you're seeing what people are doing out there in Florida, their lack of discernment, they're living in the fantasy world. They don't have what it takes to save themselves. Yes, it's devastating. Yes, it is so devastating. But it's a fucking lesson. It's a lesson. That electric tape, even duct tape, is not going to keep the fucking water out. Are you seriously? And so when I was fearmongering yesterday about the gas, oh yeah, Oh, yeah. And so I would rather be a fearmonger on my Facebook and warn everyone about things that are pending than to keep it to myself and then you be surprised and say, oh, well, you should have figured it out. No, because my immune system has a duty to save me. My immune system has a duty to let me know, not even to save me, to let me know what's going on. Then I'll have to make the choices. Right now, people are making choices when their immune system or the conspiracy world is triggering them and signaling them that something's going on, something is not right. And they have already a culprit, a blame, a person to blame. There's already somebody on my Facebook, very much radicalized, who wants to overthrow TheGovernment, like January 6th. He's like, when are we going to do that? I'm sure Facebook already flagged him. I'm sure the FBI, CIA is watching this person. That's not my solution. No. I already know why they're doing this. I just got to stay out of harm's way and make the best fucking choices possible. I can't stop what's going on. There's no fucking way. Because even if you did walk to Washington, D.C. and do what you think you're going to do, who are you going to go and attack? You saw what they did January 6th. They just sat in the seat. They sat in the chambers. Violence happened. What the fuck you think you're going to do? You be harming your own people. That's unconstitutional. They're like, oh, it's our constitutional right to take our country back if it's been infiltrated by, if you can prove it. Who say you aren't the one that's infiltrating and are unconstitutional? I mean, that's why we have a court of law. But even then, the court of law, if you don't know the law, believe all the stories. Yeah. This change was already planned for centuries. Okay? Now you just got to survive it. And try not to be a dick to people in person. There's many alpha males out there. Many alpha males that are dicks to people in person. They fuck with each other, and I understand that. Okay, I get that's how males interact with each other, but in this time, in this day and age, and people are really at the fucking surface, they're so stressed out, so much going on, you don't know what kind of health issues they have, you don't know what kind of financial issues they have, you don't know what kind of relationship issues they have. Don't fuck with people. Don't fuck with people in their face. Don't do that. Don't be an enforcer out there on the road when people are doing stupid shit, driving around. Drive defensively. Don't be the one to teach people a lesson. So my advice, be a dick on Facebook to everyone who resembles your comments or what you think people are or not. And since your Facebook friends list is so huge, most people will resemble every single comment you make. In person, be as nice as you can to people. Be as nice as you can. And I'll tell you, it's a trip when you're speaking your mind about everybody and everyone will resemble everything I'm talking about. And then you go and hang out with people who potentially have resembled some of your comments about society. It's a trip. That's a fear in itself, facing the people who probably reacted to some of the comments you've made on Facebook about society. But remember, you're allowed to have your opinions. You're allowed to question everything. You're allowed, but you have to also explain what you are questioning. You're not attacking the individual. You're attacking the belief systems and you're attacking the society's way of doing things or perception of the life and the world. You're not attacking them because everyone has the chance to change. Everyone has the ability to evolve if they want to. And so, and so there's an art to saying and speaking your mind and then hanging out with people when they know what you think, what you feel about everything. And people do take their religion personally. They take their occupation personally. They take their family very personally. And here I am speaking my mind about things and questioning all the things that people take personally. You got to realize that we're allowed to have a thought process. We're allowed to question things. We're not allowed to try to force convert. We're not allowed to disrespect someone to their face. We're not allowed to do that. We're not allowed to discriminate and be a bully to anyone personally. But we are allowed to question belief systems and ideologies and even lifestyles without going personal. Okay? And it doesn't mean that you attack, you question, is this necessary? And then realize, okay, maybe it's not necessary for you, but it could be necessary biochemically for somebody else. And allow that to actually be part of your repertoire versus you saying, well, my way is the only way and that's it. Da, da, da. No, it's attempting and even intending to understand someone else's lifestyle and belief systems and still question it, but still understand why it happens. And give people another option if they find themselves trapped in that lifestyle belief system or whatever else. So in person, be nice. It pays to know a lot of people and have a huge friends list, so you have the permission to speak freely and you're not pointing anyone out or confronting anyone. During these stressful times, people are going to be very sensitive, and when people trigger sensitivity in each other, it becomes a war. Squelch that shit. Give people room. Try not to be a dick to each other in person. I love Facebook because of my freedom of expression, and I found a way to speak without completely confronting people. And if I do confront someone because I'm like, oh my God, I gotta say this, then I'm very fucking polite, and not because I'm being disingenuous or manipulative, like I'm trying. No, I'm like, hey, I'm just really concerned about this. That's why I fear monger. It's not because I'm trying to gain market share. It's not because of whatever selfish reasons, whatever. I literally have concerns for people that's out there. I have become very close to people on Facebook. And I've looked at their lives, looked at their belief systems. I've interacted with them. I like them. They have so much interesting stuff to share. And it pains me to watch people suffer for whatever choices they make. Not to say I'm going to save them, but we have to get it out. And we don't want to go and, harm anyone in our world or unload on someone so much. And so what do? You say it to Facebook and it gets dispersed and everyone takes on the load of your stress a little bit. And if it's too much, they can turn you off. But now we have a venue to get out our frustrations, our concerns, our fears, okay? Without destroying someone in our personal world, without completely overstepping our boundaries and people in our world. We give people the choice. I seriously do respect everyone out there. I might disagree with a lot of things out there, but individually, each person is amazing. It's not the people's fault. It's the society they grew up in. The people will change when they're ready and when they're presented different information. Okay? And so now there's a video. John Oakes presented a video from Facebook Reels that is now potentially blaming China for those lasers in Hawaii. I'm not discounting that could be true. It potentially could be true. And it could have been the allowance of somebody else. Okay, so now you're going to see how these things are spun, no different than what happened in Wuhan. Are they going to blame China for those specific viruses that are plagued, the gain of function type of stuff? But like any gain of function or any kind of virus microbe, you might have a little bit of a reaction in a very small population. Okay? Because viruses don't travel that quickly. I mean, they do, but they don't. What travels very quickly with also a gain of function type virus that potentially could have infiltrated the population is when you develop a very unstable environment and wake up people's immune system, and then they're making those viruses already that's out there that's new stronger. But in a very slow frequency environment, introducing a new microbe is not going to cause what happened back in 2019, 2020. It was the new frequency changes that assisted the strength of that potential new algorithm called COVID-19. And so as far as what happened with Hawaii, you can choose your own adventure. Preparing for the blame game. It could have been China, and people stepped aside and allowed it to happen. Just like climate change is man-made. It's either the guy down the street who's watering his garden, right? Because they're saying, oh yeah, don't water the garden because it's going to cause then a drought, or it's the military. So I said, choose your own adventure. All right? And so it doesn't even matter at this point. You can't stop what's coming. You can't stop what's coming. You can't stop what's going on. You can only watch it and learn lessons from it. Oh, the government and the system is going to bring people to their knees, because there's no way you're going to be able to stop what's going on. There's no way you can pinpoint who it is. They might all have names and addresses, but if you do go to their names and addresses, it's not just them. It's a collection of so many people who are changing the world. And it's a lot of people. It's not just 300 people. There's thousands of people who are going through this process, who are aware of what's going on and are fulfilling their part of it. Whether they know the bigger picture or only their small compartmentalized duties, it doesn't even matter at this point. It's like fighting your neighborhood for being your neighborhood. You take out your neighborhood, take out your neighbors, you don't have a neighborhood. So now you got to figure out the culture of your neighborhood and find a way to assimilate and protect yourself. And so be the example of someone evolutionary as well as assimilating. And so the whole thing with me, now that we're in now another climate change, we're going into fall. We know that we're going to be lockdowns. We've heard about that coming up in September, October. The new variants come out and masks and lockdowns and now this whole storm stuff. Okay, well, what was my aggressive reaction to this climate change? It was the hives. That was it. Okay? So now when the weather changes and it's aggressive, I just get hives everywhere. Sometimes it's worse. Sometimes it's worse than others as itchy, but it doesn't hurt. But they pop up during peak frequency changes. And all it is just growth. And I showed you pictures of it when I was scratching the other day, when I had so many of them on everywhere. And I showed you a picture when I was watching TV at night. It was like in the dark, and you could see a picture of those hives, those raised bumps. That's all it was, a hive. Okay, and they itch, and then I release the demons, I feed them, and I go to sleep, and that's about it. My immune system takes care of them, and I blow my nose, and I hawk up loogies. Okay, I don't treat them. I don't even worry about them. I just feed them and release them in all the proper ways, and that plus a few minor symptoms are the only thing really that I deal with when it comes to climate change. Not so much pain anymore. Even the heartbeats, I don't even get that. I hear the frequency changes. I heard it yesterday, and it was really low, but I don't really mention anymore because it's going to happen all the time. And so not so much pain anymore, but more so fatigue or needing to take a nap and needing to release my demons early in the morning. That's why I'm up at the same time every freaking morning. My immune system makes sure I take care of myself. Okay, so now with this whole J-world, and I'm bringing everything back to the 1960s and the Charles Manson family representing the family out there, and then the programming of hot girls out there in the population to spill the seeds of men and influence people to take pills, powder supplements, and detoxes and exercise regimes, and also get married and be on OnlyFans and all of that. And so the irony is, many years ago in the 1960s, people were fighting for jobs, equality, and freedom. Today, you're all being set free from your job equally. Because when they start locking people down, they don't want you to go to work. They're trying to reconfigure the whole economy, and people are resisting it. They're trying to give you a better world. People don't see it that way because they see it as a concentration, CAMP, but there's no real proof that that's what's going to happen. Believe me, if they all wanted you to pass away, they'd raise their frequencies even higher where everyone is decimated and say, oh, it was China did that. China declared war and decimated this whole town over here. I mean, it's so easy to take out people if they wanted to and blame it on somebody else, like a whole group of people. No, they want the strongest people in the freaking petri dish. Okay? And so today you're all being set free from your job equally. History has been thoroughly planned out. No shit. And so we are in a time where we will be forced to face teachable moments. And we will say we should have done this and should have done that. And someone else will learn from our mistakes. So I saw on someone's Facebook, they're like, oh, you never should say should have, would have, could have. Hindsight's 2020, which obviously. But here's the thing. Someone else will learn from our mistakes. If people are finally waking up, they will learn from the mistakes of what happened over there in Florida when it finally realizes its potential, and potentially even all the way up the eastern and southern seaboard. I will learn the mistakes others made in their life, and they will learn the mistakes I made in my life. Remember, people told me I told you so with my dog. Everyone, not everyone, but I mean, all my trolls were like, I told you so, your dog was gonna fucking die. I told you so, I told you so. And yes, they were right. I did my best to save my dog without trying to treat her and put her through more of the trauma of the treatments. And I wasn't ready to put her down yet. And I took the I told you so's. I took the jeering. Okay, I can take it. So we should be able to take someone else telling you, I told you so, about cancer, about disease, chronic illness, autoimmune disorders, and about getting the fuck out of a place like Florida if you have the means to. And even if you don't have the means to, find a fucking way to get out. Because you're a sitting duck. And so I'd rather someone say, I fucking told you so, than not say anything at all. When people don't say anything at all, they don't give a fuck about the other person. There's a way to say things without making them make a choice right then and there. You give them the information, they will make a choice. But when you stay silent, then basically you can't wait to watch somebody go through the process because you know where they're going to go. You're not giving them another alternative choice. And so I will learn the mistakes others made in their life, and they will learn the mistakes I made in my life. And we are all a mirror to each other, learning everything. Right now, we are in a major teachable moment. I hope you're teachable. The only things I will learn from you is what not to do or what to do relative to my intention. You can't force someone to learn something you want them to learn, because maybe what you have to teach them is not what they are intending as their outcome. I will watch you and I will learn from you, but you will not force your way down my throat, and vice versa. I will not force my way down your throat. I will have a conversation about it and give you my point of view without making you wrong, and I intend to understand your point of view and see, okay, I get where you're coming from. And also, in addition to me understanding where you're coming from, let me add more, if I can contribute more to your world without taking anything away from you, but adding not so much stress, but adding another way of looking at something that still has the intended outcome of peace and harmony and calmness, okay? And also acknowledge what people notice in another person to make them react to you in a certain way. I will watch you and I will learn from you, but you will not force your way down my throat, and vice versa. We are the example and the representation of our belief systems. And for every told you so, for every I told you so, you told to somebody else. There's a told you so, there's a I told you so, someone is saying to you. I can handle it. I can handle the I told you so's because I lived through them, and I will not make the same mistake again. I want everyone to tell me I told you so if it's appropriate, and I will learn. I lived through my dog passing away. I lived through everyone telling me I told you so, I told you so. And she didn't even fucking die. I had to fucking kill her through the veterinary system. You're like, oh, you killed your dog. No, the vet killed my dog. I didn't kill my fucking dog. Oh, but she was suffering. Yeah, we're all fucking suffering. We weren't equipped to watch an animal suffer like that through the potential reconfiguring of her immune system because of all that operation and surgical trauma she went through. She didn't have that surgical trauma. Could she have suffered and lived and not suffered anymore? Well, we'll never fucking know. However, I lived through that, and I can handle the I told you so's. The whole point is to live through somebody telling you I told you so and learn from it. And so then when I say the system, because I'm not even saying the elite, it's they, the system. The elite is the system who has trained you to do what you do, okay? So they equals the system. A body of people who have an intention and a body of people who resist the intention. The system pulled out all the stops to self-destruct, with a few people surviving catastrophic outcomes. Imagine if you stopped resisting and you developed a plan of action. How far ahead you could have been. Okay? And so when everyone on my Facebook in the conspiracy world would stop fucking resisting and find a way to survive this and develop a strategy to survive this, because you're severely outnumbered. Maybe you could be far ahead. Those who were resisting the J world and trolling the fuck out of me, if they would have sort of considered my information, how far ahead could they have been in planning their strategy to survive the fires in Canada and storms in the UK, as well as COVID, or storms in other parts of the world, or pandemics in other parts of the world, or floods, or whatever. When you keep resisting information that is new to you, you don't strategize. You just keep reacting until you don't exist anymore. And what's the point of that? When you're accusing someone of trying to destroy somebody else, and yet you are destroying yourself from your lack of consideration and lack of planning. Freedom is about future thinking. Freedom is planning ahead. When people don't plan ahead and they react at the 11th hour, that's a fucking slave mentality. That's a slave mentality. The medical, holistic, energy healing world is a slave mentality, because you're reacting to things at the 11th hour and you're trying to take away pain because you don't want to feel it, because it's been 40 years of accumulation of pain, and now you're trying to stop it. And there's no future thinking, because how long are you going to take that? To what level of degree are you going to stop the pain before the body says, okay, I have to release these fucking demons, and you're stopping me from doing that? You're a slave to that fucking pain. When people are treating their disease, they are a slave to the pain. Why do they call it a perfect storm? A perfect storm is a meteorological event aggravated by a rare combination of circumstances. The term is used by analogy to an unusually severe storm that results from a rare combination of meteorological phenomena. Okay, right now we're in the perfect storm. What's going on with Franklin and Idalia, and then the gas being contaminated? That's a perfect storm. Rare circumstances. That's going to have a very predictable outcome. Hurricane Idalia to the south is a Cat 3 or 4 hurricane going up the eastern seaboard, and Hurricane Franklin to the right, giving it more power. The perfect storm. Category 3 plus 4 equals 7. First, the number 7 represents the power of God. Genesis. Now, I'm not religious, but I was raised Jewish, yes. And I proved that. Not that I needed to prove it, but whatever. Genesis 2:3 states that God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it he had rested from all his work which he had created and made. Secondly, the number 7 signifies the 7 churches of Revelation. Okay, so there's a Christian side of it and there's a Jewish side of the number 7. So God blessed the seventh day and made it holy. Because of it, he had rested from all of his work which he had created and made. So yeah, the system puts so much work into keeping people unaware. The psychological programming, the desire to live in a tropical community, spreading the storms out far between each other, so people are like, well, a storm like that happens maybe once every 10 years type of thing. Short memories, under the influence. And so now they've done their work. The collective done their work with the psychological, intellectual, emotional programming, biological programming. Now they're just resting. And it's now up to those playing with the weather lasers and whatever, to do their job, to do their part of the whole ritual. Hurricane Category 7. Franklin strengthened into Category 4 hurricane. Category 4 hurricane 3 hours ago from yesterday. Forecast data shows Idalia will be a Category 3 hurricane or stronger as it strikes the west coast of Florida. Now you see what's going on. And then you have people stranded because they have shitty gas in their gas tank. A Category 7 hurricane would have winds at least 210 to 250 miles per hour. By this logic, Hurricane Dorian would rate as a Category 6 hurricane. Only one hurricane in the world history would rank as a Category 7 hurricane. Patricia of 2015, which peaked with 2,215 miles per hour sustained winds off the Pacific coast. Holy shit. Hurricane Patricia of 2015. Wow. Even if you don't get storms and are not subject to inclement weather, the temperature fluctuations and the rise in temperature also causes instability in the environment of your immune system, which is why people are getting sick, and even more so during seasons changing. Now you must learn how to balance out your biochemistry without using the medical and the holistic system, so you can monitor your own stability. Or else attempt to allow somebody else to monitor your stability, and then it will be 100% equilibrium, dead, flat line. And that's what's going on when you give your kids and yourself to the medical, holistic, energy healing world. You're attempting to have somebody else monitor that person's stability. And when you cure someone to death, that's equilibrium. That's 100% equilibrium. That's a flat line. What's equilibrium? 2 flat lines. That's an equal sign. You don't want to be at equilibrium. That's dead. And so what is wealth now today? Wealth is not the money. Wealth is not your fucking house. Look at those that are in Florida right now with these $1 million homes. They're going to be up 11 feet of water. Their cars, their Teslas and their Maseratis and their Chargers and all those highfalutin cars, they're all underwater. Wealth, weather. Wealth, weather. Wealth is dependent on the weather. Stability is what makes you rich, and it doesn't have to be monetary. It's also biological stability. And the kicker is it's really your atmospheric environment that will determine your in or stability. So your atmosphere, your environment will determine how stable or unstable you are or will be. And so when someone's living high on the hog, okay, because that's what my husband and I were living high on the hog when we went to Florida during that time. And it wasn't pretty, we had maybe one hurricane scare potentially when we arrived there. But when we were there, we were living high on the hog. He was training people. We had that truck going, we had 6,000 miles a week. We were making, we were making like $1.09 per mile. And you take out for all the overhead and everything, we're making like $2,000 a week. That's pretty good. Okay, that's really good. And the weather was nice. We didn't have to deal with anything catastrophic. We were going fishing. We were eating out. We went to the casinos. A lot more fishing. Traveling around, hanging out with people. I mean, it was great. And so high on the hog. Comparative, higher on the hog. We had lobster. Huge lobsters over there in Lake City, Florida. So high on the hog. Comparative, higher on the hog. Superlative, highest on the hog. Idiom, well off, living comfortably or extravagantly due to great wealth or financial security. When people become poor and bankrupt because everything is unstable, when weather becomes very unpredictable and catastrophic, you will lose everything. That's why people in the past moved to areas with stable weather, more dry than not, but more dry hot than not, but too much dry hot could also do damage too. Well, that's why I won't live in Phoenix, Arizona. Too fucking dry. Which is why California was the place to be back when people were migrating from New York or from the East Coast, right? Everyone going from during the Dust Bowl and the Great Depression, everyone was going from east to west to Cannery Row, okay, and Monterey and all that, and then you have the gold rush and all that. So which is why California was the place to be back when people were migrating from New York to California to chase after building and developing biotechnology and computer technology and engineering the new biological, economical, and intellectual infrastructure, also known as smart cities. Because when you have the stable weather, everything is mostly predictable. And then you can do your job and not worry about losing the rug out from under you. Sustaining stable biology also gives you the power and the chance to thrive and sustain wealth. It doesn't have to be monetary wealth. Just the fact that you're able to survive climate change and know when to get out of harm's way, and you are rich with an immune system, and there's food around you so you can feed yourself, yeah, that's rich with wealth. Because you can always start over again, and you don't have to die in the programming that you were forced into as a baby. We are in a great reset. Everything is unstable. All bets are off. And so now health is wealth or instability. At this point, money is just a means to whatever end you intend. Maybe it's time to be a smart person and strategize your survival. And so that's what I'm advocating, is that now don't look at money as a means to an end, except money to get you out of places that are so aggressively unstable. And Florida is aggressively unstable. And even after these hurricanes decimate parts of Florida, will there still be people still living in the most southern part of Florida? The east coast of Florida. Are they even going to find a way to get the fuck out? I mean, what is it going to take? That's the thing. That's why you can't feel too sorry for people, because you've given them so many warnings. You've given them strategies, especially with the insurance companies. I asked on Facebook or Google, can you cash out, because I never even thought about this, can you cash out your home insurance if you're in an area that you don't want to rebuild in, and you want to cash out your home insurance if your house gets totaled so you can go and relocate somewhere else? And yeah, there are policies for that. Abso-fucking-lutely. There are policies for that, especially made for something like Florida. Your house gets decimated by a hurricane, and there's still insurance companies out there, and you've paid your major premiums. They'll give you a small stipend or whatever it is so you can go and buy a house in Ohio. Okay? And if you're in a little apartment in Florida, well, you get your renter's insurance. If your place is devastated and you don't want to relocate, you don't want to stay there and rebuild or whatever, you take that insurance money and you find a way to go find a small little house in Ohio, because there's bungalow houses for very cheap that you either can rent or you can buy if you have the means to. But some people are not even equipped to do that. That's what's sad. Some people are not equipped to leave. And so they're a sitting duck. And that's the reality. And the system knows this. And so if you want to be a smart person, you have some kind of life future, start listening to indicators and make the necessary moves. Not to destroy somebody else, not to harm anyone else, but to protect yourself. And if it means leaving an area like parts of Florida or even all of Florida right now, my advice, fucking do it. And even those that are up like Georgia, Tennessee, Carolinas, you see the future map, the Navy map. Maybe it's time to do that. Maybe it's time to move back to Michigan. I don't know. Or to the Great Lakes area. Maybe not so much Michigan because all those damn tornadoes. I'm telling you, Ohio is not a bad place to be. Not so much southern Ohio because of all the tornadoes, but maybe you can live in Cincinnati or because there won't be tornadoes there. But I'll tell you, where I live, it's not so bad. I mean, I live more in the ghetto part, but not totally ghetto. I don't live in the projects, though the projects are about maybe 2 blocks away from me. But my little area, tiny little area of like 5 or 6 houses that I interact with, and we all look out for each other, and we all have cameras that face the street, and we're all pretty well armed. It's not a bad place where I live. It's not a bad place at all. And so you can make a haven wherever you are. But if you're in a sitting duck over there in the south, because I want to say not even Florida, I'd say rethink even staying in Georgia. But, you know, how that goes. I mean, even though it says it stays on the map, like on the map, Georgia is still there, doesn't mean that you're not going to get decimated over and over again by hurricanes and floods and massive amounts of tornado and unstable weather. And we're heading into climate change. The South is going to be hit with so much unstable weather. That's why when I came to Ohio, it was so nice that there was cold to deal with. I love the cold. I had to get used to it, but I gravitated towards this. I like the cold. I actually prefer the cold over the heat. I could be an Eskimo. So anyways, there's my thing for today. So you guys, just good luck. Those that are in Florida, good luck. Especially in the areas of the hurricanes, good luck. Those in areas of the coast of Georgia, good luck. Good luck. Maybe this will be a major lesson for people who survive to get out. Resistance is futile.